Most of us are trading our best years for a paycheck that has an expiration date. We grind for the bigger house, the faster car, and the premium life, but we're paying for it with the only currency that never renews: our time. Ask yourself, if your heart stopped tomorrow, would anything you built keep breathing? Because if your success requires your pulse to exist, you haven't built wealth. You've just rented a lifestyle. Real wealth isn't what you spend, it's what outlives you. Why is it that two people can read the same book, look at the same market data, and understand perfectly that owning an asset is better than paying someone else's mortgage, yet only one of them pulls the trigger? The other person stays paralyzed. They wait for the perfect moment. They wait for more data. They wait for permission. If you think the difference between them is intelligence, you're wrong. If you think it's about who is better at math, you've already lost the game. The world is full of smart people who end up with nothing. They have PhDs in finance and empty bank accounts. Why? Because money does not operate on logic. It operates on belief systems. Logic tells you to save. Belief tells you whether you deserve to own. You've been lied to. You were told that if you just worked harder and learned the rules of money, you'd be fine. But the rules are just a distraction. The real battle is happening in your emotional relationship with every dollar that passes through your hands. Most people treat money like a guest, something that arrives, stays for a bit, and then leaves. The wealthy treat money like a brick. It is a piece of a larger structure. They aren't better at algebra than you. They just don't feel the same fear you feel. While you are calculating how to survive the month, they are calculating how to dominate the century. You are looking at the price. They are looking at the prize. This is what the masses miss. They think wealth is a pile of cash. It's not. A pile of cash is just a target. True wealth is architecture. Machiavelli didn't write his works to teach people how to count coins. He wrote them to teach people how to build systems that survive the person who built them. He didn't care about your spreadsheets. He cared about your blueprint. Because at the end of the day, numbers are just ink on a page. But architecture? Architecture is the only thing that can be passed down. It is the only thing that remains when your pulse finally stops. You think your greatest enemy is a competitor? You think it's a market crash, a greedy taxman, or a lawsuit. You're wrong. Your biggest threat is sitting at your own dinner table. It is a biological glitch hiding in your own DNA. And it's called self-sabotage under abundance. Evolution had one goal: survival. It didn't care about your great-grandchildren or your 10-figure trust fund. For 99% of human history, success was simply having enough to eat for the next 12 hours. But when you finally win, when the fridge is full and the gates are locked, your brain doesn't know how to handle the peace. It gets bored. It gets lazy. It starts to decay from the inside out. This is the tragic irony of the builder. You spend 40 years in the trenches, trading your youth and your sanity to ensure your children never have to struggle. You fill your house with every luxury imaginable. You remove the friction. You kill the pain. You think you are being a provider, but in reality, you are a saboteur. You are amputating their ambition before it even has a chance to grow. You are killing the very thirst that made you a predator in the first place. Hunger is a weapon. It is the only ammunition that keeps a dynasty alive. When you take away a person's need to fight, you take away their ability to win. You think you're giving them a head start, but you are actually handing them a death sentence. You've turned your heirs into parasites living in a palace they don't deserve. Machiavelli saw this pattern clearly in the great houses of Italy. He watched as powerful Voom trio collapsed, and it was rarely because of a superior enemy at the gate. They fell because the heirs grew up in the shadow of the monument, never learning how to hold a sword. They understood the privilege of the crown, but not the weight of it. They were born into a fortress they didn't know how to maintain, and a fortress without a vigilant guard is just a very expensive tomb. Why do smart, capable founders watch their children burn through a lifetime of work in a single generation? Because comfort is a behavioral cage. It's a slow-acting venom that paralyzes the instinct for growth. If you don't manufacture a struggle, The lack of struggle will become the very thing that destroys everything you've built. Stop looking at the bottom line of your balance sheet for a second. Look at the people who will take your place. The question is no longer, how much can I leave behind? The only question that matters is this: is the environment you've created right now sustaining the thirst, or is it drowning the fire? You've identified the enemy within. Now you must build the fortress. But don't mistake a monument for a system. A monument is for the dead. A system is for the living. To build a dynasty that lasts centuries, you have to follow the blueprint. Not the one they teach in business school, but the one written in the blood and shadows of history. Law 1. Build ecosystems, not income streams. Most of you are proud of your salary. You're proud of your hustle. But if your cash flow requires your pulse to exist, you aren't an owner. You're just a high-paid battery. If you die tonight, your income dies tomorrow. That isn't wealth. It's a job with a better title. True wealth is an ecosystem. It is a self-sustaining machine that breathes whether you are in the room or in the grave. Stop building streams that dry up when you do. Start building a climate that creates its own rain. Law 2. The real inheritance is architecture, not assets. Giving an undisciplined child $1 million isn't a gift. It's a loaded gun pointed at their own head. Your heirs don't need your money. They need your mind. They need the mental infrastructure that built the money in the first place. If you leave them the fruit but not the orchard, they will starve. Assets can be stolen. Assets can be taxed. But architecture is internal. It is a logic system. It is the immunity against the decay of the soul. Money without discipline is a weapon of self-destruction. Law 3. Separate visibility from control. This is the part that offends your ego. You want the world to know you're the boss. You want your name on the building. Machiavelli would tell you that's a death wish. Power that can be seen is power that can be targeted. You can be famous. You can be loud. You can be the face of a brand. But the structure that actually owns and controls that brand must be a ghost. Fame is a liability. Privacy is the ultimate defense. The goal is to be a ghost in a machine you designed. Law 4. Design firewalls, not just trust. This sounds cold. It is meant to be. Trust is an emotion. Structure is a fact. Your relatives aren't your enemies, but they are your greatest risk. Tying your wealth to the moods, the marriages, or the whims of the people you love is a recipe for disaster. Real love isn't giving them a key to the vault. Real love is building a firewall so they can't burn the whole house down during a bad year. You don't design trust. You design permissions. You design a system where even the weakest link in your family cannot break the chain. Are you building a monument to your ego, or are you building a machine for your bloodline? Because monuments crumble, systems endure, and we are just getting started. You have built the machine. Now you must learn how to protect it from the only thing capable of tearing it down: human nature. This is the war you will never fight in person. It is a war that begins the moment your heart stops beating, and if you haven't designed the armor correctly, your legacy will be scavenged within a decade. Law 5. Your income must survive without your identity. If your wealth depends on you being liked, being famous, or being remembered, you haven't built a dynasty. You've built a cage. The moment your face fades from the public eye or your reputation is attacked, the cash flow stops. That isn't power. It's a performance. Real wealth is faceless. It is indifferent to your popularity. It must be able to thrive in the shadows, disconnected from your name, your ego, and your social standing. If you vanish tomorrow, the machine should keep grinding as if nothing happened. Your ego wants a monument. Your legacy needs a ghost. Law 6. Train your heirs in fire, not in comfort. You think you're being a good parent by shielding your children from the harshness of the world? You're a traitor to your own bloodline. You are sending them into a battlefield without a sword. You don't prepare them for reality by providing a soft bed. You prepare them by letting them taste the dirt while you are still there to watch them get back up. They need to fail. They need to lose. They need to understand the cost of $1 before they are allowed to manage 1 million of them. If they haven't been forged in the fire of struggle, they will be consumed by the fire of the world. Law 7. Entitlement is the cancer that grows inside the walls. Empires are rarely destroyed by invaders at the gate. They are rotted from within by heirs who believe the throne is a right, not a responsibility. The moment a member of your family thinks they deserve the money simply because they share your DNA, the collapse has begun. Entitlement kills the predator instinct. It turns warriors into parasites. You must design your system to reward discipline and punish laziness. The bloodline is the vehicle, but merit is the fuel. Law 8. Design wealth to outlive emotional decisions. Humans are messy. They get divorced. They get addicted. They make catastrophic mistakes out of spite or stupidity. Your system must be colder than their emotions. It must be designed to withstand the worst-case scenario of your least competent descendant. You build firewalls around the capital so that one bad marriage or one gambling debt cannot liquidate the foundation. You don't trust the person. You trust the architecture. You are no longer a person. You are a designer of survival. If you build for the best-case scenario, you are a fool. If you build for the worst-case human behavior, you are a king. The question is, are you ready to be cold enough to ensure your bloodline stays warm? You've heard the name, but you haven't studied the blueprint. Mayor Amschel Rothschild didn't just build a bank, he built a ghost empire. He understood the most dangerous mistake a builder can make, being a single target. He had 5 sons. He didn't keep them close. He sent them away. London, Paris, Frankfurt, Vienna, Naples. 5 cities, 5 hubs of power, 1 bloodline. To a king, they looked like separate bankers. To the family, they were a single decentralized nervous system. They spoke in a private language. They used coded couriers that moved faster than government mail. While the rest of the world was playing a game of borders, they were playing a game of architecture. This is where the theory becomes reality. When Napoleon's armies marched into Frankfurt, the local elite panicked. Their wealth was tied to their land, their buildings, and their visible vaults. When the city fell, their legacy ended. But Rothschild? Rothschild lost nothing. Why? Because he had already weaponized the law of invisibility. His capital had no permanent address. It was already in London. It was already in Paris. It was moving through the network like a phantom. Napoleon could occupy the house, but he couldn't occupy the system. The bricks were in Frankfurt, but the power was everywhere. This is the case study they don't want you to analyze. Most people spend their lives building a house that can be burned down by a single law, a single war, or a single lawsuit. They are rooted in one place, easy to track, and even easier to destroy. The Rothschilds proved that if you want to be untouchable, you must be distributed. You must separate your survival from your geography. You must build a system that exists in the spaces between the lines on a map. Ask yourself right now, if your current city burned to the ground tomorrow, if the local banks froze or the government seized everything in your name, what would you have left? If the answer is nothing, then you aren't building a dynasty. You're just building a target. The war is coming. The only question is, have you scattered your seeds, or are you still keeping them all in one basket, waiting for the fire? You're building a brand. You're on LinkedIn, YouTube, and every podcast that will have you. You're being told that visibility is the only way to win in the modern economy. And now, I'm telling you to vanish. It feels like a lie, doesn't it? It feels like a contradiction. It isn't. It's a test of your maturity as a builder. There is a massive difference between fame and power. Fame is a performance. Power is a structure. Most people chase fame because they want the dopamine of being recognized. They want the likes, the views, and the applause. But applause won't protect you when the tide turns. In fact, applause is just a signal for the taxman and the envious to start looking for your weaknesses. Machiavelli understood one thing better than anyone. If they can see you, they can hit you. If they know what you possess, they know exactly what to seize. So, how do you operate in the age of the algorithm? You learn to be loud where it's cheap and silent where it matters. You can have 1 million followers. You can be the loudest voice in the room, but not a single asset of real value should ever be attached to your identity. Your personal brand is a decoy. It is a monument designed to distract the masses while the real architecture remains hidden in the shadows. If they cancel you, what do they destroy? A profile. If they ban you, what do they take? A digital image. But your trusts, your holdings, your decentralized infrastructure, they can't even find the front door to those rooms. The question isn't, should I hide? That is a question for the weak. The real question is, what part of me can I afford to lose, and what part of me must remain untouchable? Because if an attack on your reputation can destroy your wealth, you haven't built a dynasty. You've just built a very famous cage. You think you're helping your children by handing them the keys early. You aren't. You're handing them a loaded gun with the safety off. Law 9. Delay power, accelerate discipline. Age means nothing. Behavior means everything. If they haven't mastered their own impulses, they have no business mastering your empire. Power without discipline isn't a gift, it's a suicide note. Law 10. Teach them to own time, not just money. The world is full of rich slaves. They have 7-figure bank accounts and zero control over their own Tuesday mornings. The moment your heir trades a second of their life for a paycheck, they've lost the throne. They are no longer an architect. They are a servant. Real wealth is measured only in the hours you do not have to sell. Law 11. Wealth is a language. It isn't math. It's psychology. It's code. It's the unspoken dialect used in rooms that the rest of the world doesn't even know exist. If your children aren't fluent in this language from birth, they will be outsiders in their own boardroom. The world will speak right over their heads, and they won't even know they're being robbed until it's too late. Finally, Law 12. Burn the blueprint. Leave the philosophy. This is the ultimate paradox. Do not leave them a map. Maps become obsolete. Markets shift. Kingdoms fall. If they passively inherit a path you paved, they will never develop the muscles required to defend it. Leave them the why, not the how. A blueprint is a relic. A philosophy is a weapon. Because something built again is protected, but something handed down passively is already half dead. One day, someone will walk through a world you designed, trade in a market you built, and live by rules you wrote, and they won't even know you existed. Your name isn't on the stone. Your face isn't in the lobby, but your system is still running. This is the ultimate victory. You have a cold choice to make. You can die as a rich man, a visible target for the world to scavenge, or you can vanish as an architect. The difference isn't your bank account, it's your decision today. Most will ignore this and go back to sleep. But if you are one of the few who demands the suppressed blueprint, the gates are open below. Prove you are the engineer, not the fuel. Choose.